Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Review. As you can see, Bill and I are not indoors today. We are outdoors at Severna Park High School where it's AAYFA Championship weekend. We've had games on Friday, games on Sunday, and of course all the American Championship games here on Saturday at Severna Park High School. Brooklyn Park gets the first championship of the day in a rematch against Old Mill. They're now 1-1. We certainly expect round 3 coming up in 2020. Bill, this is always one of our favorite days of the season where it's just a complete celebration of football from 10:30, and by the time they pick up the last piece of trash here, it's probably going to be about 9:30, 10 o'clock before everybody rolls out. But what a great day of football it becomes for all the people involved here.
Well, this is my favorite day. I've been coming out here for 14, 15 straight years, as long as I've been covering youth football for the Capitol, and we talk all season about youth football. Back in the day when I was the Maryland Gazette sports editor, I used to take youth football results on a weekly basis, spent all day Monday updating the standings, and you really look forward to this final day to see who's going to be the champions. We should give a shout out to all the guys from AAYFA. We got Chris Sexton up in the booth doing stats and doing the announcing. We got Demetrius Ballard and Jason Clarke down here on the field making sure things run right. We just had a great ceremony that they do every year, Pete, the Buzz Platt Sportsmanship Awards. I think it's a great thing that AAYFA and the Anne Arundel County Recreation and Parks Department does, highlighting the importance of sportsmanship. Every organization in the county selects one player that they feel is worthy of being the Buzz Platt Sportsmanship recipient. We just had that ceremony here on the field.
Yeah, it's always important to encourage not only competition, but also to encourage sportsmanship, as we do each and every year with the Buzz Platt Awards. With Kenny Browning just giving out the first trophies of the day to the Brooklyn Park Broncos in the 8U categories. They beat Old Mill by a score of 12-6. We come back, we'll talk to Mike Newton about it and about the Broncos program. As always, I told Bill a couple weeks ago, we got to get him out to the zoo on a Saturday morning one day. We'll be back with Mike Newton coming up on the Gridiron Review. Welcome back, and of course, one of the folks, as I told Bill, we're going to take him to the zoo. Mike Newton, one of the ringleaders out at the zoo. But, Mike, obviously, a lot of folks in the community have come together to kind of, save Brooklyn Park football. A couple years ago, I don't think the Broncos were headed in this direction of success that you all have had. 14 and under team took a championship last night, and this young group right now at 8 and under looks like it's got a lot of great potential. What's been the key for you all to get this thing going, and really what is turning out to be such a positive for this community right now?
The key thing has been the grown men, the coaches that's in the places they are, to be mentors to these young fellas. A lot of them have stepped up as leaders, and a lot of kids follow them. That's why so many kids want to play for the zoo.
Great path for you, obviously playing in the county resident, Glen Burnie, Calvert Hall, UB now at the University of Buffalo, then time with the Colts. What is it about your experience that you can hope to relay not only to these coaches, because I think that's the most important thing, is making sure that the coaches are the ones that stay grounded, because they're the most important connection to these kids out here. How do you share your life experiences with them so these kids can get as a good experience out of it as possible?
Absolutely, Pete. This game can take you to many places, and the key thing about it is that teaching the coaches that it's just not about football. It's bigger than that. A lot of coaches, they spend their hard-earned money on these kids outside of the sport, and that's what kids look up to them for.
So when you came back to the county, and let me ask you this, when you were a young man, who did you play for, the Gridiron Rebels?
No, I grew up actually playing for the Pasadena Chargers.
Pasadena Chargers guy. What led you to decide to come back and get involved, and why Brooklyn Park?
7 years ago, I got a nephew who's about 14 years old now. They asked me to come out and help coach his team. Got a little taste of it, and I've been there ever since.
Obviously now going forward, you got a group there at 8U that looks like it has got some real potential. We know these kids are 8 years old. I mean, a lot can change between now and even high school. But what's the key to keep these young men going forward in a positive direction? Because this and the team you played today, Old Mill, it's 1-1 now. They won last year. This group won this year. I fully expect we're going to see round 3 in 2020. But how do you teach the kids about winning? Because you got to.
Hold on. Let me correct you first, Pete. We won beat them twice this year. Last year we played Jones Highway at 80
Oh, that's
pound
right.
in
That's
the
right.
championship.
That's right. But they finally get. But they got their championship moment though.
Absolutely.
How do you teach them to handle winning to make sure that that work ethic doesn't go down and they come back next year and do the things that they've got to do to try and win again?
So when you win, it puts a target on your back. You got to work that much harder. But right now it's the off season. Actually, we're playing the states, and after that we have the off season. We'll make sure the kids are good in the classroom. That's the #1 thing for us. Classroom first, and then we'll make sure that they're working out, training, preparing for next year as everybody gets bigger, faster, and stronger around the county.
Yeah, no doubt. And that All-Pro championship, that's a heck of a reward for these kids, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It should be fun for them, a great experience. Some kids never get to experience that in their life, so it definitely be fun to do.
Well, I want to congratulate you and your coaching staff because I watched that game and I thought your team was very fundamentally sound. I'm watching guys break down as tackle, head up, going low and taking out the legs. I think, can you just talk about what you're trying to teach over there at Brooklyn Park?
So 4 or 5 months ago, you come out, you don't have a football out. You start off with basic tackling and blocking. Mm-hmm. It came down to this game. First half was kind of a grudge match. Pretty much at halftime, I let them know. 5 months ago, this is where we started, blocking and tackling. That's what's going to take us over the top. Right. And they follow and they believe in what we've been teaching.
All right, big fella, we know you got some kids want to celebrate with you. Appreciate the time, Mike.
Absolutely.
All right, Mike Newton joining us here from Brooklyn Park as the Broncos win in the 8U category here on Championship Day. Back with more of the Gridiron Review in a moment. Welcome back. More from Championship Day right now as things at Severna Park percolating right along. Jason Clarke, who helps run the board of directors with the AAYFA. A lot of your volunteers out here today. We got obviously Chris up in the booth. Demetrius is here. Kenny Browning's helping pass out trophies. First of all, what possesses all of you guys? Because you guys have all been involved in this in some capacity. They're coaching, having kids in it. What's kept all of you in this game for so long, and why do you do it?
Probably just the fact that we can, we feel like we're helping change lives a little bit, giving the kids an opportunity to come out amongst the community, meet different people that they'll possibly play with in high school. The good thing about it is the guys working the booth that are taking your money coming in are all former players of the AAYFA. Some of them are going to Spalding and so on and so forth at Chesapeake. But at the end of the day, they want to come back, and we just feel like as long as we can keep encouraging that, we're going to be all right.
The Touchdown Club of Annapolis gives out an award every year, Vince DePasquale Service Award. We give it to people that have dedicated many years to Anne Arundel Youth Football Association. I come out here today and I see about 6 former award winners. Yourself, Demetrius Ballard, Chris Sexton, Kenny Browning. I mean, so you guys have done your time enough to have gotten an award, but yet you keep on doing it. Do you feel like the board as a whole is in one of the better places it's been with the leaders like the men I just mentioned?
Yes, I do. I feel like over the past couple years, I was on board when Peacock was there, then we had Reggie Leach, and then now myself. And with the changes that are going on within youth football across the nation, I feel like we're in a good spot working with the director of Rec and Parks and trying to make sure we have a great product on field and that the kids are really getting something out of it. So it's, when you see the former guys come back and, we'll pick a new one this year, but they're really working hard for their programs. Our numbers are down across the board. However, you can see we have a good quality product out there on the field.
Bill and I talk about this all the time, but in terms of the process for folks that really don't understand it, I mean, it's the board, it's the commissioners, and parents and their players and their families, they really do have a voice. They just simply have to, deliver that message through their commissioner, and then their commissioner brings it to you all. And I think that's the one open part of this process. You all have been very transparent about this. If a parent doesn't know something, it's simply because their commissioner is not communicating. How important is that transparency as we try to do things on a yearly basis to continue to improve this product and make it a great experience for the kids?
Okay, once I became the president, that's one of the things I sat down with John and Jeff Porter was, what do we need to do, or what is it you'd like to see different from the previous boards? And that was the getting the word out to everybody. The commissioners, yes, we sit in the room and they understand fully about what our expectations are, but then once they leave the room, it doesn't necessarily go to everyone that actually supports the AAYFA. So that's why we took a presence on social media. There's a board that has official information, and then you get the backstories. But but that was the big thing. And if somebody emails us, we want to make a point to get back to them as soon as possible. We make everything available. We email. I mean, if a parent, excuse me, if a parent emails me, I let them know exactly what's going on. And then I also say, work through your commissioner. That way, when it comes rule change time or something that we need to review, everybody's aware of it.
Bill and I were just talking off mic. Mike Newton and Brooklyn Park just won the 8U championship here today. They had a 14 and under team that won last night. Can you kind of just explain and tell people, what Mike did to get that community organized and to re-rally that organization? As I said, there's a lot of want to in that community, and right. Mike really has worked hard with the people in that community now to get them going in a great direction, and now the kids in that community are seeing the fruits of that labor.
Right. It's funny you bring that up, because initially when the new board took over, Brooklyn Park was on their way almost to extinction. Right. And we sat down with him and we brought him in, and we kind of outlined a little plan about what his vision was as far as trying to bring, make the program viable in Brooklyn Park. And we don't have to ask twice. They attend the meetings. They're obviously getting the kids to participate. So, that's one of our better programs. Right.
Go ahead. Well, I've been involved with youth football and the Anne Arundel Youth Football Association for all 30 years of my time at the Capitol. I think this private-public partnership, if you will, where the Anne Arundel County Recreation and Parks Department really oversees youth football, but they allow the AAYFA to almost self-govern, and I think it's a great relationship. And I've kind of gone around the rest of the state. I don't think there's another youth football program in any county that's any better than Anne Arundel's. Would you agree?
We like to think that we're the best association out here. And like I've attended Maryland coaches. I forgot what it is. But basically, it was the Maryland Football Coaches Association, where I sat down with a bunch of high school coaches from around the state and youth programs, and we kind of compared some of the things that we had going on when it comes to as far as youth football. And by far, I think we've got one of the best programs. We work really good with the county. As far as you're saying, they give us the leniency to actually govern. We're consulted. We are allowed to recommend if there's punishment necessarily, and any type of rule changes that we feel fit. They actually listen to us. So we feel like over the past 3 years, we've made a lot of progress. And the venues, as far as we got rid of a bad nomenclature as far as having. Right. We're now at Severna Park and we're doing good things. So.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of people who need to know. Dave Smalley, John Spinnenweber, Jeff Porter. It's not a dictatorship. It's a group effort. We love to take that input, because you're only, as a governing body, you're only as good as your constituents. Correct. Your constituents are the most important. As you said, right. People were leaving the game of football. Right. And I think in many cases, you look at the flag. I mean, just this year, the flag football activity that we had right. tremendous interest in that. We've got Under Armour with flag football right. out there. So kids have interest in football. Right. I think the big thing is just making sure you have an organized product. And I think that's the great thing right now is it is a team effort. Every organization has a voice. I look down at, even in my community, SCYA was virtually extinct itself.
Yeah, Mike's done a great job.
Mike Mulhern and all of those guys, Brian Nermy and all those guys, they have done an amazing job of bringing that program back to life. You see SRYA right now, South River High is enjoying a great football season, benefiting from the great SRYA work that those guys have done through the years. And I don't think there's look, Chuck Markowitz did it for years with the GORC program. It works hand in hand, doesn't it? Because most of our high school coaches seem to have interest in their youth league programs now.
Going to benefit from what Mike Newton's doing over at Brooklyn Park.
There's a few coaches that really involved within the rec programs. We obviously like to see that grow again, get them, but like I think it's the coach from Broadneck, Jeff Herrick, is
Rob Harris.
Rob Harris, that's correct. Yep, he is very involved in it as a kid. So the more that we get in
with the Panthers, and look at what he's done at Chesapeake. Chesapeake was a program. If they won 2 or 3 games, it was a great season. Now they're competing for playoff spots, as you know, every year.
Right.
Huh?
Yep.
Yep. So, and that's one of the things that we continually try to. Last year we weren't able to get it off the ground, but we were trying to get at least one representative from the coaching staff of all the high schools to come and help put on a clinic. We didn't get it off the ground like we wanted to, but that's something we look forward to doing in the future. But just bridge the gaps, and they're always welcome. Always welcome.
And of course, we're making football an in thing again. They're teaching it the right way, and that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing we got to overcome. Everybody looks at the potential violence of the game.
Correct.
But if the game is taught correctly, and I think we do a lot to try and help our coaches at every organization to do that. As long as you're teaching the game correctly, it is a safe game.
Well, the days of hitting like when you and I played back are long gone.
Not doing that anymore.
Well, I just highlighted, I saw Brooklyn Park guys breaking down, form tackling, head up, getting low, tackling at the legs, the proper form. They weren't just trying to kill people, and it was done properly.
No Oklahoma drills out here anymore.
No.
Jason, appreciate the work you and all the guys on the board do. Appreciate you as always.
Appreciate it.
All right. Jason Clarke joining us here from the AAYFA Championship Day here at Severna Park High School. Bill and I will take a look at the high school slate from last night when we return on the Gridiron Review. Welcome back. High school playoffs got underway last night in and around the county. Several teams qualifying for the playoffs, especially with the expanded playoffs so far this year. Bill, last night, two teams that have been staples in the playoffs, Arundel and Broadneck, played each other. And as we've talked about all year with Arundel, when it goes well for Arundel, it's not just Austin Sly throwing the football, it's when they have great success running the football. Jordan Andrews last night, just exceptional, 187 and 3 scores in the contest to complement Austin Sly's 2 touchdown passes in the game. They beat Broadneck 45-23.
Well, it was a real oddity. These teams played in the final game of the regular season, and 1 week later they're in a playoff game against each other. And Jack Walsh, the head coach of the Arundel, said it. We need to be able to run the ball. When you're trying to grind the game down and take time off the clock, you've got to be able to run the ball, and that's the element they do have this year. Mr. Andrews has been outstanding all season, certainly in the running for all-county. He's right up there at the top as far as top all-county running backs. And the defense for Arundel held Broadneck scoreless for over 16 minutes from late in the first half. Scoreless in the third quarter. Broadneck did not score again until in the fourth quarter. So the defense for Arundel also had a big say. And congratulations, Arundel. You now get to play unbeaten South River in the next round.
South River, of course, undefeated so far through the regular season, but a big week for the Seahawks as David Faust and Sean Leonard got preferred walk-on offers from the University of Maryland. Now, for a Big Ten, it's a big deal for a Big Ten team. Certainly, you still got to climb your way through 4 and 5 stars on the depth chart, but opportunity knocks, and I'm sure these are just the first of many offers that are coming for that dynamic duo who've been good all year. But what has been important to note, Delvin Johnson, and last night, Sean Hemphill became the top pass catcher for South River. Right. David Faust with 291 and 2 scores, and Hemphill with 164 of those and those 2 touchdowns. Just goes to show you all the great weapons that Coach Dolce and the Seahawks have so far this year as they move to 10-0 with that win 31-21 over Annapolis.
Great. South River just keeps on rolling along. And next week they got Arundel, was a team they beat in the regular season. I don't know who's going to beat this team in this region. I think they can go a pretty long ways, possibly a state championship type team. Coach Dolce, we should give him a shout out. He was the Ravens Rise Coach of the Week last week, which is a big deal, a well-deserved honor after a tremendous season. And South River with just so many weapons. And again, we really need to credit their defense has shown up all year. And the offensive line, when you're throwing for the kind of yardage they're throwing for and running for what they're running for, they got to be getting great work from the offensive line.
And they lost the Al Larimore Award winner from last year, and yet they've still been able to pick it back up and dominate at the point of attack. Coach Dolce, by the way, another AAYFA football product.
Pasadena
The
Chargers,
Dolch family,
maybe.
yeah, the Dolch
Or
family's
maybe
been
Bucks. He might
terrific.
have been Bucks.
They've been very instrumental throughout Anne Arundel County athletics. So South River and Arundel coming up next week. That's going to be a ridiculous game. Unfortunately, we'll be in South Bend. We can't watch it. So good luck to both of those
We'll be following
teams.
close on social media.
Yes, we will. Brian Powell will make sure of that. He watches our show every week and texts us the scores every Friday night, no matter where we're at. Old Mill got a big win over Severna Park, and Old Mill's kind of a team, Bill, that's just kind of laying in the weeds here.
I don't want to play Old Mill.
Still a program with so much championship pedigree through the years. They get the job done. Another team that just wants to pound it out on the ground as they win by a score of 34-19 last night. And, you know, when you get a kid like Karan who's got 144 yards, 3 scores, when you can control the ball like that, you can beat anybody at that point. So that's to me the big thing going forward to watch with Old Mill. If that group can possess the football like that, they become a headache for anybody they're playing here in this playoff.
Well, Karan Toll, another guy. It's going to be hard to pick the all-county running backs because I got about 5 or 6 on my list. South River's running back, Arundel's running back, Karan Toll at Old Mill.
Alex Wicks.
Alex Wicks, well now, and then we're going to talk about him later. They got another running back at St. Mary's is going crazy, but Karan Toll's been outstanding, and I think they had a second back go for about 76 yards in that game. So I would say that Old Mill was probably up around 300 yards rushing last night.
No doubt. Tull and Graves really had great games. They combined for 4 touchdowns on the night in that one. Meade, in a game that ended late, knocks off North County 27-13. So the good year for Mike Francis and company continues. Bill, they were 1-2. They've won 7 in a row, and they are really rolling right now at Meade.
All right, well, we've talked all season on the show about the culture that's been established there. Last night they did something really neat. They made Darlene Mears, the widow of the late, great Jerry Mears, who the Jerry Mears trophy is for the winner of the Arundel Meade game. We have a Jerry Mears trophy that goes to the most outstanding team in Anne Arundel County, which right now is looking like it's hands down. South River is the Jerry Mears trophy winner. But Darlene Mears was invited to serve as the honorary captain for Meade High last night. That's just class act, Mike Francis, class act. And her son Richard Mears was there, and he tweeted it out, and the family was just so honored and humbled and thankful that they still remember the late, great Jerry Mears. And that's going to be a great game next week. Meade Old Mill, big showdown in the North County.
Yeah, no doubt. Chesapeake got a 20-14 lead at Oxon Hill, eventually lose by a count of 31-20, but Rob Elliott has turned that program into a very consistent playoff performer. Victor Listorti had 3 touchdowns in the loss for the Cougars. North Point still haunting Anne Arundel County teams. They dropped out of 4A down to 3A because they built the new St. Charles High School. So that dropped North Point out of that region with Annapolis, Broadneck, and all them. And
it's almost not fair. I mean, North Point at 3A playing against Northeast, I mean, 55-0 was the score that says it all. It's a bit of a mismatch. I mean, it's almost not fair. I don't know why. I mean, it is what it is.
School population, and they, like I said, they built a new St. Charles High School, right? Because North Point, Leonardtown, Great Mills, the only 4As in that group in the SMAC. They wanted everybody down to the SMAC to be more 2A, 3A, which is what most of the schools are. That's why they built that new St. Charles High to ease the overcrowding there in the Waldorf area.
I'm going to predict that North Point's going to reach the 3A state championship because that's in essence a 4A school playing at the 3A level.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Meanwhile, Kyshawn Gray Dantzler. Who is he? Where did he come from?
He's the backup.
He's the backup to Alex Wicks, who got hurt and has been missing the last couple of weeks. But St. Mary's has kept on winning for Jason Boudroni. Last night, Gray Dantzler had 247 yards on 41 carries, Bill.
That's
41 carries.
That's ground and pound, baby.
How many plays did St. Mary's run in this game if he ran the ball 41 times? He had 3 touchdowns, including the game winner, as they beat John Carroll 28-24. They now play Pilate, and yet looking for another B-Conference championship game.
St. Mary's will be going for their 3rd straight B-Conference championship. They are 7-1 in the B-Conference this year with the lone loss coming to Pilate, which is a very good program. But this is going to be a great game, St. Mary's Pilate, and I'm sure St. Mary's will, they got revenge on their mind. St. Mary's had to dig deep in this game against John Carroll. They were trailing late. They had to get that touchdown late to go ahead and then get a defensive stop at the end to prevent John Carroll from going down and possibly tying the score and forcing overtime. Jason Madroni and his staff have done a tremendous job, and that'll be another great game next week, beat conference championship.
All right, and of course McDonough wrapped up the A-Conference season beating Spalding in the regular season finale there. That's going to do it for our program out here. No pros and colleges this week. Of course, Bill and I actually have a Saturday off. Navy was off today. They'll be in South Bend, Indiana next week to take on Notre Dame. Big shout out to all the folks here, the AAYFA board, who put a lot of work, and again, it's all volunteer folks. Ain't nobody getting a dime out here, and the AAYFA turns their admission money into stuff to better the program, play for all the trophies. These kids aren't getting just a little $4.99 trophy. It's a pretty impressive trophy.
We got some film
we
of
saw
that.
some of the video. Make sure you take a look at that. And appreciate, obviously, all the work that John Spinnenweber, Jeff Porter do to organize this program, Steve Conyers, and all the great field monitors that work today. There's a lot of folks working here to make sure this day comes off without a hitch, including members of the Anne Arundel County Police Force who's out there. Look at my man, Big Lou Watkins. I see him back
another
there
great one.
as well. He's got the big bright vest on. His dad was my janitor-in-chief down at Lothian Elementary when I was a kid. My goodness, the Watkins family's put in some work here in Anne Arundel County. And of course, our thanks to our boy Mark Haygood, who's been our cameraman all season long.
And
came out on a Saturday.
Production extraordinaire.
Yeah, we appreciate Mike Hannon cutting him loose out here on a Saturday to come shoot all of the stuff. It's been a great AAYFA championship day. You can go back and look at all of the final results and the team schedules at aacounty.org. For Bill Wagner, I'm Pete Medhurst. Our thanks to you as always for watching all season long on the Gridiron Review.